going to be hard to say that, but a lot of times, right, would you say it's humanity corrupting what the religion meant to do? Like Joe said, when Ireland was trying to free itself from Britain, right, it was all the Irish and it was all the Catholics and Protestants. But really Irish and English. Right? And so a lot of times people have corrupted religion. Right? But it's true, it's been used by humanity to be divisive and dangerous. Right? Religion is created by humans to explain natural events. Right? We didn't understand what causes some of the natural events, so it must be a God. Must be somebody up there controlling thunder. Where does that come from anyway? Light. Okay? And it's a meme, okay? That religion is a meme to help us cooperate for our survival. You know what a meme is? Okay, a meme is a thought, right? A meme is a thought or a belief that travels through populations or through a culture. A meme is a thought. And so what an atheist will tell you is, right, we only care about each other because it's the meme that kind of travels through. And it was a meme that helped us survive and work together, helped us cooperate. We don't really care for one another. We care about surviving. And so we had to come up with these manners, right, or cultural ways to work with one another. And so we're interpreting it wrong. We think it's caring and loving for each other, right? It's really not. It just helps us to survive. Okay? So here I have two short videos for you by Richard Dawkins, who is a very well-talented evolutionary biologist. I've read his books, but he's an atheist. He has some things to say. See if you think, if you can understand what he's saying.
This is probably going to be the most simplest one for you to answer, but what if you're wrong?
All right, so he got finished with his talk on atheism, and the girl asks him, right, comes up and says, well, what if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? I mean, anybody could be wrong. We could all be wrong about the flying spaghetti monster and the pink unicorn and the flying teapot. You happen to have been brought up, I would presume, in the Christian faith. You know what it's like not to believe in a particular faith because you're not a Muslim, you're not a Hindu. Why aren't you a Hindu? Because you happen to be brought up in America, not in India. If you'd been brought up in India, you'd be a Hindu. If you were brought up in Denmark in the time of the Vikings, you'd be believing in Wotan and Thor. If you were brought up in classical Greece, you'd be believing in Zeus. If you were brought up in Central Africa, you'd be believing in the great Juju on the mountain. There's no particular reason to pick on the Judeo-Christian God in which by the sheerest accident you happen to have been brought up and ask me the question, what if I'm wrong? What if you're wrong about the great Juju at the bottom of the sea?
The only reason you believe that is because you were brought up that way. And it just depends on where you were brought up, right? That's what he said. Right. Here's what he's asked, okay, when you die, when you meet God?
I think we should look at the history of religion and be fascinated by it, just as we look at the history of art and so on. But I don't think that religion has anything useful to teach us. One of the main reasons why people are religious is because they're persuaded by the apparent design of living things. And that's completely destroyed by Darwin. If you actually read any book by a biologist about evolution, it's hard to see how you could fail to be persuaded of it. The evidence is just absolutely pat. There's no doubt about it. It's not a controversial issue. It's completely certain. It's as certain as the fact that the Earth and the other planets orbit the Sun. More than 40% of the American population, if opinion polls are to be believed, think that the world is less than 10,000 years old. And that's a shocking figure. It shows deep, profound ignorance. It sounds very laudable to teach the controversy, to teach both theories, but there aren't two theories. There's only one theory around. There's only one game in town as far as serious science is concerned. Of course, you've got negative reactions from creationists, but who cares about creationists? They don't know anything. I think it was my father who first introduced me to Darwinian evolution. I was immensely moved by it, and it did start a roller coaster in a way, and then I started to become really quite anti-religious after that. I went through a sort of middle ground of what you might call deism. I think I gave up Christianity before I finally gave up the idea of a sort of creative designer of some kind. Darwin made it possible to be an intellectually fulfilled atheist. Before that, you could be an atheist, Hume was, for example, but it was quite difficult because you had no good explanation for why living things look so well designed. Darwin provided that. There are other reasons for being religious, like moral reasons, or people sometimes feel they have a personal relationship with God or with Jesus or Muhammad or whatever it is. That kind of reason for being religious would not in itself be undermined by Darwinism, but it's quite wrong to believe that science reduces humanity, that science somehow gives you a bleak, cold, empty, barren view of the universe and of life. Quite the contrary. Science is enriching and fulfilling. What's going to happen when I die? If I met God, in the unlikely event after I died, I think the first thing I'd say is, well, which one are you? Are you Zeus? Are you Thor? Are you Baal? Are you Mithras? Are you Yahweh? Which God are you? And why did you take such great pains to conceal yourself and to hide away from us?
Okay, so you should be able to answer those questions, I would think. So which God are you? What do you think God would say? I am. I am. I'm all of that. Right? And then why did you take such great pains to reveal yourself? The answer would be, so you have free will, right? If he stands in front of us, right, you lose your free will. Now you got to do whatever he says, right? Because he's God, right? No, but by and some say he doesn't take great pains to reveal himself. He's all around us, right? In what we do for each other, in our universe, in our world, and creation, right? So, and by the way, the church is not creationist, right? You heard Dr. Dawkins kind of trashing the creationists that the Catholic Church is not creationist. Yes, the Catholic Church knows that the earth is 4.6 billion years old, and the Catholic Church is sympathetic and encourages Darwinian evolution. And so the church believes you should study that because that's a mechanism, right, that God used to create the different organisms as our environment's changing, right? Conflicts are coming and going, right? Our environment's changing, climate change, right? Sea levels rise and fall, right? You have to have some mechanism for animals to adjust and evolve to that, right? Fit into their environment. And so we believe as Catholics, right, this is official church doctrine, right, that evolution is just a way, the means that a designer uses to get all the different species and organisms we see. But he also says no serious evolutionists would have a question that, and we don't. But serious evolutionists also know, right? There's more to what's going on than just Darwinian evolution, more than just natural selection. Okay, all right. So let's see. So, and he also says that you exist by the shearest axis. That you're only here, right, out of the shearest axis. Like a car accident, spilled milk, right? Okay. Let's take a look here. Catholic belief foundation is premised on two big ideas, right? One is the natural moral law, and one is the unique spirituality of humanity. We just spent the last 10 minutes, right, showing you, right, scientists who think there is nothing special about us. Right? That we are, let's see, that we are no better than bacteria. The worm represents a very simple human being. That's nothing but a big fly. The life of a newborn baby is less bad than the life of a pig, a dog, or chimpanzee. If you go to, I think, Peterson, he's at Northwestern University, I think. Notice he's a bioethicist. He's not quite a Catholic bioethicist, so, right? He thinks differently. Right? And we're not, there's no God, no intelligent design, no higher purpose to our lives. We're just bacteria, worms, flies, pigs, right? Dogs, right? Okay, so you're going to run into that, or maybe you're kind of thinking that yourself, all right? Okay, but I think we've given the atheists enough time now, all right? Let's take a look. So the atheists believe that human caring and compassion is an evolutionary need. Right? We look at what Christ said, right? Love God, love one another, right? But they say, no, that's just an evolutionary need, right? Cooperation was to help us survive since we were organs without tooth, fur, or claw, right? And so we needed to, if we were going to survive, remember we came out of, our species came out of Western Africa, right around the Ethiopia area, about 50,000 years ago. They ran into the Neanderthals in Southern Europe, right? But our species came out in small bands, of maybe 20 to 50, right, bands that crossed into Southern Europe. So we had to be able to survive with each other. We had to cooperate. We had to care about each other, right? It's difficult to kill a mammoth by yourself, right? And so you needed cooperation. I think that was a little exaggerated, but you get the idea. Okay? And so these kind of developed, right, because we had to cooperate with one another, we kind of developed the ideas that those who cooperate with one another could form successful clans, right, would be the ones that survive. And that's carried through all the way down to today. Okay? But, so the atheist view of caring, right, is just that it's an evolutionary, but we've got some problems here. Right? You see pictures like this, right? Or like this. And or like this, right? Or like this. These are strangers taking care of the vulnerable or the injured. And to counter that compassion is just an evolutionary need to help us survive. You say, wait a minute, they're helping people survive that are going to decrease the clan's fitness, right? These people are injured, sick, right? They need to be cared for. They would decrease the clan's fitness. So where's that compassion coming from? So what makes us so special? We built our Catholic moral foundation, those two principles, right? That there is a natural moral law, a designer, a lieutenant, right? And that we're special. Right? So now we have to figure out what is it that makes us special. Okay, there are three unique human characteristics, right, to me. One is that we are made in the image. Humans, male and female, are made in the image of God. The second is we were redeemed by Christ. He must have thought we were worth saving. Right, to send his son down, right, in order to redeem us. Right? And the third is ensoulment. We possess the soul guided by our conscience. It tells us what we should do or what we ought to do. There is no other organism on the planet that has this, that's able to do this. Right? It has these three unique spiritual characteristics. So if these are true, then they would indeed make us unique, wouldn't they? Let's take a look. So we are more than just bacteria, worms, flies, and pigs, right? We are wired for God. And we are wired to understand, right, the natural moral law. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of things here, right? So we believe, right, that we are intended. We are not, as Mr. Dawkins says, the sheerest of accidents. Right? It's a little bit difficult for us to understand, but we believe we are intended to be here. We are no accident. We are designed. We are made up to understand the natural moral law. Right? And we have a purpose. A lot of times at this age, right, you're kind of drifting around, you're not too sure why you're here, right, maybe, or what you're doing, or where you're going, right? But if you have the Catholic faith, you can fall back on this and say, well, wait a minute, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, but I know I am no accident. I know I am designed unique, I am supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing where I am, I'm supposed to be where I am, and what I'm doing, right, and where I am. All right, my mom and dad may say with an accident, right? But what that means usually, right, to think about it, right, what that means is that, okay, human beings, mom and dad get to decide the timing on when you come. Right? They get to do that. God gives us that choice. Okay? But you yourself were intended to be here. Maybe even here tonight. Who knows, right? Okay, so let's take a look now at some counters to what you just saw. You see a lot of time with Darwinian perspective is kind of being corrupted, right, to say, Darwin explains everything. Natural selection, evolution explain everything. And we know that's not true. We know, and the sciences know that that's not true, right? So.
The universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is, at the bottom, no design, no purpose, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference.
I don't know, I'm pretty satisfied with the explanation of the evolutionists. Yes, I do believe we are descended from animals.
And evolution is obvious. Man was not created in God's image, God was created in man's image in order to address those things about which we were ignorant.
I think part of the grand joke of it all is that, before there was feet, there was flippers. Before there was lungs, there was gills. And, it's all part of that process that got us where we are today. Gridlock and angry.
I sometimes wonder why anybody talks about anything else, because this is the most interesting topic there is. Where did we come from? How did we get here? What brought us into existence? What is our relationship to reality as a whole?
We look at the incredible diversity and complexity of life, and inevitably the question arises, what brought all this into existence? Was it simply chance and necessity, undirected natural forces? Or is there something else going on? Is there a purpose, a plan, a design due to an intelligent cause?
It's really interesting to notice that the more we know about life and the more we know about biology, the more problems Darwinism has and the more design becomes apparent.
We have not the slightest chance of a chemical evolutionary origin for even the simplest of cells.
The discovery of the information-bearing properties of DNA and RNA is a fundamental challenge to all materialistic theories of the origin of life. Neo-Darwinism and its associated theories of chemical evolution and the like will not be able to survive the biology of the information age, the biology of the 21st century.
When I look at the evidence objectively, without ruling out the possibility of design just leaps up as the most likely explanation. And that's why I believe that it's true.
We can't explain these systems by natural law. And if we're searching for truth, and they are in fact designed, if we have to be design engineers to understand it, then I say, what's the problem? You go with the data legion. And the implications, yeah, they have profound metaphysical implications, but so be it.
For several centuries, we've been told that the universe does not have us in mind. That is, that we exist in a small speck of dust in a very large universe, and that the universe was not designed for beings like us. Our argument suggests something completely different. It suggests that the universe was intended, that the universe exists for a purpose.
The laws of physics are balanced on a razor's edge for life to occur. What you have is a universe that is not only finely tuned for life to occur, but also has a beautiful, elegant mathematical structure, and a structure such that we can discover that structure.
There's something about the universe that can't be simply explained just by the impersonal forces of nature and atoms colliding with atoms. And so you have to reach for something beyond the universe to try to account for it.
The founders of modern science, like Copernicus and Kepler and Galileo and Newton himself, believed that the universe was the product of a mind, that it was intelligible to beings like ourselves because the universe itself was the product of an intelligent being.
I
I was trained in journalism and law to respond to truth, I had to take a step of faith in the same direction that evidence is flowing. You don't have to commit intellectual suicide to come to the conclusion that there is an intelligent designer. Because today, science is pointing more directly and more powerfully toward a creator than any other time in the history of the world.
So what he's telling you is, if you're looking for science to support your atheistic views, that's pretty old school stuff. The new science is pointing to a design, an intention, a purpose, a design. Now, they're not saying it's God, right? They don't know who it is or what it is, right? All they're saying is that blind chance could not have put the universe or you together like this, right? And that's why it's an exciting area to be in biology, biochemistry, biochemistry, genetics, right? Evolution, all this is great stuff to be in. It's kind of neat because it's pointing not to the old school stuff. Oh, natural selection, that takes care of everything. Everything just by chance, right? No, it's pointing to something else that we don't see yet, right? Some great big thing that we can't see yet, but we know it's there. We know it's there. Okay, all right. And so we believe human care and compassion, right, are written into our hearts. We are wired for good, and it's written into our hearts. So when you hear that kind of science, when you hear scientists saying, modern scientists saying, right, we haven't got the whole picture. Something's happening here. It looks like we're supposed to be here. It looks like we're intended, right? And then you see things like this, right? And maybe you begin to doubt your atheism.
I finished my college here. I was went for a large group of from Bangalore. I saw a very old man. He was eating his one human waste for hunger. I thought, what is the purpose of my life? What am I going to do? In a star hotel, I feed all my guests, but where in my homeland, there are people who are living even without food. And I quit my job and I started feeding all these people from 2002. Then is a blend of rice and down, a lot of spices. Then and sambar will be made for breakfast, and for lunch we made tomato rice and sabji. Meat, fish, the homeless, mentally destitute, and the poor people were made uncared of the society. People are suffering for food. They don't have food to eat. If you don't give them food to eat, they will die of human hunger. Psychologically, that they are also human beings. There are people to care for him. They have a hand to hold, hope to live. Food is one part, love is another part. So the food will give them physical nutrition. The love and affection which you show will give them mental nutrition. Being a Brahmin community and Orthodox family, there are a lot of objections. Brahmins are not supposed to touch these people, clean these people, hug these people, feed these people. Everybody has got 5.5 liters of blood. I am just a human being. For me, everybody is same. There are thousands and thousands and lakhs of people suffering. What is the ultimate purpose of life is to give. Start giving. See the joy of giving.
What is the ultimate purpose of life? To give. That's it. Just simple two words, right? He says to give. So, he believes there's a purpose, there's intention, there's reason that he's here. And that his purpose, right, is to take care of each other and to love one another. It's hard to see how what he does is just an evolutionary mean that's passed down through generations in order for clan survival. And it's difficult to believe when you see that. Okay. All right, here's another one.
What's the matter? Yeah. Touch your lips. Just wet your throat a little bit. No. They hurt some style like this. I'm wiping them out. My name is Wenson Roberts. I'm sentenced to 8 years for robbery in the first degree. And I signed up for the hospice program. I never thought it would do anything for me. The mother and the rest of the family members are coming around 9 o'clock. Ready to see them? Ready to see them? I sit down and talk to guys. I read them their mail. I help them write letters. Remember the lady in the picture? Conversation is the main thing. Of just being here, just sitting here. You understand? Just be there for them. Remember when they come, you got to be more active, a little more animated than this. I'm sitting in the hospital room with Adam Jacobs. And one night I was on the 9 till 7 shift. That's an overnight shift where you're actually locked in the room because we are in jail. And he just broke down and he started crying. I actually gave him my shoulder and I hugged him, and he said, man, I don't want to die in jail. But I told him to man up. He said, F that, I don't want to die in jail. Do you want to die in jail? I said, no. He said, let's stop telling me to man up. And he started crying. And then he said that his family. I said, wow, this dude knows me for not even over 90 days, and he said I'm his family just because of little small, minor things that I did for him without him expecting anything back. Mr. Jacobs, listen, I'm going to read the 23rd Psalm for you, okay? Give you a little strength. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He led me beside still waters. He restored my soul. He led me in the path.
Hey, Mr. J, how you doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
Yeah, how you feeling?
Well, yeah, you know, up and down and up.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
My name is John Henson. I'm 30 years old. I came in at 18 years old into the prison system because of murder. Previous employer that I worked for, I burglarized his house. He was there. I ended up hitting him with a bat, and he died. Knowing that, number one, I could never bring back the life that I took. I'd like to think that I'm offering life to those men that I sit with before their final days. What's going on? You went out today or anything?
No, I haven't been outside for quite a while. I could do that in here.
When I sat with the first guy that had died, I just started crying. The tears just came out. I guess it was just a buildup of everything. I didn't know why I was crying. Partly because of him, I guess partly because of things that died with me that same time. It just made me look at what I had done. Life was always a game to me. And even after I came to prison, I didn't want to face myself. I didn't want to face who I was. And sitting with this person for the first time and actually seeing death, firsthand, being right there, having my hand on his hand, watching him take his last breath, it just caused me to say, wow, who the hell are you? Who were you to do this to somebody else?
Even in that area of prison, right, those men, pretty hardened guys, right? But still, they've learned to reach out, right? Show compassion. They have nothing to give other than themselves, right? And their company to their other fellow inmates. So where does that come from, right? Where is that? Okay, so I believe, right, that this natural moral law, and you can go to 8 o'clock, right? All right, I believe the natural moral law is written in your heart. I believe it's in your heart. It's there for a purpose. Next week, what I'm going to do is a little experiment with you. Right? And I'm going to show you, right, that I believe it is written in your heart. But we'll save that for next week. How am I going to do that? Okay, on your tables is a little form there, because what I want to do is pick also next week some specific topics. We talked kind of like all theory tonight, right? All kind of theory about what Catholics believe and why, right? But now what we need to do is we need to look at some very specific issues, right? And apply the natural moral law, apply categorical and consequential thinking to these issues here. And these are kind of the issues that I think are the big ones in society. If you'll just check off 3 of them, right? Or the bottom says no preference. Maybe you're not lying awake at night over any of them, right? But if there's no preference, then there's no preference, right? But if you have, if you'd like to tell me what those are, I can key on those 3 next week. We will do the experiment here to try and prove to you that the natural moral law is written in your heart. Okay, I think I can prove that to you, right? And also what I want to do then is then address these topics, whatever 3 topics come out the most there, okay? All right? And we'll see, okay, Catholics are going to apply the natural moral law. They're going to apply categorical maybe type thinking, right? And that's why they're coming up with the conclusions. Okay, so if you could just check those off and give those to your table leaders.